Good evening, everybody. I am Suzanne Shirley and Senior Ruby Ambassador with Plexus, and we are doing the 15 Invaluable Laws of Personal Growth, actually 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, but you can call it personal growth, that's for sure. Tonight we are going to be on Chapter 3, which is a massive chapter called The Law of the Mirror. And the Law of the Mirror is so monumentally important, because I truly believe that, all of these are necessary. All of these laws, the law of awareness, the law of intentionality are the two that we've studied so far. Tonight we're on the law of the mirror. You have to put them all in here together. We've got to have them all, but I'm telling you, this law is pivotal. It is pivotal to your success in life. In life. If you want to become everything that you are meant to be by God, if you want to develop yourself into the person, the best version of yourself that God ever designed you to be, and for you to walk into that vision, you have to get this chapter. And you have to start applying the truths that are in this chapter. It's fundamental. It's imperative. And we are going to talk about the homework at the end. We're going to go over the questions, because those are just the beginning of how you're going to uncover what kinds of things you need to do on a daily basis to work out the issues in this particular chapter for yourself. The law of the mirror simply states that you must see value, literally see value in yourself, to add value to yourself. You have to believe in your own self-worth and your own value before you're ever going to help yourself, meaning add value to yourself. Personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort. You are worth the effort, the time, and the energy needed to develop yourself. Okay? People have tons and tons of potential and possibilities inside of them, but they never cultivate them because they're convinced that they cannot learn and grow. They're just convinced that that's not for them, that they're never going to get past some of the problems, the hang-ups, the hurts, the things in their past, the things that they believe in themselves. The things they believe about themselves put onto them by other people in their past. They just believe them and take them on as truth. Someone else's truth. They take them on to themselves, and they never seem to go past those beliefs. And if you continually hold on to someone else's beliefs about you that are projected onto you, you will stay where you are in life. You are doomed to stay exactly where you are. You will never get outside of that space. And we are going to talk about, uncover, and figure out tonight some of the things that you can do to work through some of the self-prophesying beliefs that were cast onto you by other people in your past. Some of us don't have any of those types of issues. I personally am not one of those. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky, whatever you want to call it. I don't have all that baggage that I'm carrying around. Do I have fears and problems? Absolutely. Do we all have hangups? Yes. But at the end of this chapter, the activity where it asks you to write down, I know I'm skipping ahead, a list of all your best personal qualities. And he's asking you to write down 100 positive things about yourself. 100 things. I could easily do that. That would be an easy thing for me to do. No one has cast their negative opinion or belief about me onto me. They never did that. I was very protected. I was always believed in, cherished, honored, respected, trusted, valued, esteemed, loved. And I know not every child had that amazing thing that happened, to me. I know that that's not the gift that happened not everyone had that gift as a child. I know that. So as a team and as your leader, it's my job to help you to discover some of these things that are holding you back from your past, that keep you in limited belief about yourself and keep you believing in someone else's beliefs about you, and to help you learn how to get rid of those beliefs and work toward believing the real truths about yourself. Because you are not who other people said to you that you are. You are not that person. You are much more than the limited beliefs that were cast upon you. So, with that said, I want to, and by the way, after this book, which is going to last us all the way through January of 2017, because of some holidays that we're going to take, I plan on doing 2 more books that are very, very centered around this topic here. The next one is going to be what to say. What do you say when you talk to yourself? And then the book after that is going to be Self-Talk, Soul Talk. And truly, as a leader, all of you are leaders. If you have one person on your team, if you have 15, 20, 50 people, 100 people, doesn't matter how many people you have on your team, you are a leader. And in order for you to be a leader and to be the most effective leader, you have to uncover these things about yourself. And then guess what? Guess what? Guess what? You're going to help other people uncover those things about themselves too. This is not just about you. This is not just about you. Yes, you're going to peel back layers of onions tonight and in the future, but this is to help you to learn how to do this with other people. Okay, because you're going to duplicate what we're doing with your team. One-on-one, on a phone conversation, or on a teaching Zoom, or whatever else that way that you decide to lead your team. So, John Maxwell says, I believe that all people have seeds of success within them. All they need to do is cultivate the seeds, water them, and feed them, and they will begin to grow. And that is absolutely the truth. All you have to do is cultivate these seeds that are within you. You have what it takes inside of you. You have all the potential that it takes to become the most incredible leader and effective, successful person in this world and on this planet. So why do many people fail to grow and reach their potential? Well, I'll tell you why. The number one reason is low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. People just do not believe in themselves. They do not. They do not see the possibilities that God put in them. They possess 100 acres of possibilities, but they never cultivate them because they're convinced that they will not be able to learn and grow and blossom into something wonderful. And then he gives the example of Janetta McSwain. Janetta McSwain, from an abused child on the streets, sexually, physically, emotionally neglected and abused over and over and over again by the people that were in her home. And then when her mother moved away from the location that she was at, she started bringing other men into the home, and she was sexually and emotionally abused by them. And to this very day, she's working on her doctorate degree. I'm sure she's graduated by now. She's an incredible human being. And she saw her potential. She saw the value of herself so that she could add value to herself. And that was not easy to do. Not easy to do. She was at one point having children out of wedlock, lived on government-supported housing, government assistance, relied on her boyfriends for additional support. Have you known people like that? Maybe it was you. Maybe it was somebody else. To keep her in designer clothes, She resorted to shoplifting, just down the rabbit hole of making the worst choices ever, right? Her 30th birthday caused her to look in the mirror, and she didn't like what she saw. And so when she looked in the mirror, Do you remember Christine talking about how she had talked to Ame Darling walking down the beach in Hawaii? If you watch the video, that's what she was talking about. Ame Darling knows John Maxwell inside and out. And she was talking to Christine about how people just really need to stand and look in the mirror. They need to stand and look in the mirror. The day that I woke up, says Johnetta McSwain, and realized that I had absolutely nothing to celebrate, no money, no full-time job, no home, no husband, no clue, not even the will to do better at last, I knew it was time to make some changes. She wasn't happy. She realized that if she continued down the same direction she was going, her 2 sons would also be headed for trouble. She wouldn't be able to help them. It was a process that started with her working to get her GED. She worked to get her GED, then she passed, and she was chosen to speak at the graduation ceremony. Nobody from her family bothered to attend. She wanted to do something that no one in her family had ever done, which was go to college. So she enrolled at Kennesaw State University, deciding to take more than a full load every semester. And she said, I realized that I didn't have to be smart. I just had to be determined, motivated, and focused. This came with a high price tag for me. I had to exchange my thinking. I had to think like a smart person. She sought out the smartest person in each of her classes and asked to study with her. She asked other people that were better at doing whatever they were doing, that she wanted to become like them. She asked them to study with her. Smart girl, huh? Talk about asked to hang around some mentors. She maintained the vision that she had for her future, and at the very beginning of every semester, she went to the bookstore on the campus and tried on the cap and gown. She tried it on. She envisioned herself graduating from college. She put herself there, looking at herself in the mirror and imagining what it would be like to graduate. She completed the work for her bachelor's degree in 3 years. Then she enrolled in graduate school, where she earned a master's degree in social work. Currently, she's working towards earning her doctorate. I went for something that society told me you cannot do, says Johnetta. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, yes, I can. Johnetta is basically an example of what happens when you add value to yourself. When you add value to yourself, you can achieve your dreams. You can achieve your dreams. She was motivated by the desire to help her children. She began to add value to herself first. She added value to herself first, and then later saw the value in herself. So she didn't see the value in herself first. So what she did is she began to add value to herself until she saw the value in herself. Does that make sense? It's like a catch-22. It works both ways. If you cannot see the value in yourself, you won't add value to yourself. But until you start to add value to yourself, you will not see the value in yourself. So it works both ways. It doesn't matter which occurs first. It doesn't matter which one occurs first. One feeds the other. What matters is the cycle of value starts. You've got to start that cycle. If you do not realize that you have genuine value and that you are worth investing in, then you will never put in the time or the effort needed to grow into your potential. If you're not sure that you agree with that, consider the following things. Huge. Get ready. Here comes the big nuggets. Self-esteem is the single most significant key to a person's behavior. Self-esteem is the key to a person's behavior. The amazing Zig Ziglar says, It is impossible to consistently behave in a manner inconsistent with how we see ourselves. We can do very few things in a positive way if we feel negative about ourselves. In other words, your behavior is going to match how you feel about yourself. If you feel that you're worthless, your behavior will match that. If you feel that you are valuable about yourself, then your behavior will match it. That's huge, guys, huge. Nathaniel Brandon says, who's a psychiatrist, by the way, no factor is more important in people's psychological development and motivation than the value judgments that they make about themselves. No factor is more important in people's psychological development and motivation than the value judgments that they make about themselves. In other words, what they really do think about themselves. Every aspect of their lives is impacted by the way that they see themselves. However it is that you see yourself, every facet of your life is affected by that. Huge. If you believe you are worthless, then you will not add value to yourself. You will not. It's impossible. People that believe they have zero self-worth will not go and add value to themselves. They won't do it. Low self-esteem puts a ceiling on your potential. So now let's take it another step further. You have low self-esteem, so guess what? You got a lid. You're never going to get past there. Puts a lid on your potential. Self-esteem has a lid, just like the lid on your leadership potential limits you from progressing. Remember the law of the lid in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership? It's the first law in that book. The law of the lid. You have a lid on your potential based on your self-esteem. You certainly do. If your desire is a 10, but your self-esteem is a 5, you'll never perform at a level 10. Let's think about that again. I know a couple of people on here tonight because you guys have talked to me personally. And I know your desire is at a 10. Your desire is at a 10. You want this so badly, but your self-esteem is at a 5 or maybe even lower than that. So if your self-esteem is that low, how in the world could you ever perform at a 10? How can you? You can't. You'll perform at a 5 or lower. You're always going to perform at a 5 or lower if that's where you're at. People never outperform their self-image. They never get that. I double underlined it. People never outperform their self-image. You can't. You're never going to earn a paycheck higher than your own self-image. Ever, 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 ever. So if you want to get a bigger paycheck and if you want to perform at your top, then you better improve your own self-image. You better work on that hard and fast. People are very poor and they're unhappy in their lives. And then guess what? They get used to being poor and unhappy. They just stay there. They just stay there. The value that we place on ourselves is usually the value that others place on us. Okay, here we go. Here it gets even worse. The value that we place on ourselves is literally what other people are going to place on us too. If you esteem yourself and think very highly of yourself, not in a proud, arrogant way, but I mean, you esteem yourself. You love yourself. You value yourself. Then other people will value you. But if you think very lowly of yourself and you think of yourself undeserving, incapable, no one else will either. Everyone else will think that you're undeserving and incapable. Okay? You've got to get this down. Johnetta McSwain, nobody believed in her. She didn't care that nobody believed in her. She says, you don't have to accept what people say that you have to be. You don't have to accept that. You can move above and beyond that. If you put a small value on yourself, rest assured the world will not raise the price. That is a huge nugget. I want you to just eat that for dinner right now. If you put a small value on yourself, rest assured that the world will not raise the price. They're not going to value you any more than you value yourself. If you want to become the person that you have the potential to be, you must believe that you can do that. You must have that in your own soul. Okay? So what are some steps to build your self-image? I just laid out the problem for you in different phases. This thing affects this thing, which affects this thing, which affects this thing. Now, what do we do to fix it? 10 steps to build your self-image. Number 1, guard your self-talk. I can guarantee you, any of you out there who think lowly of yourself and undeserving of whatever it is that you're trying to go for in life, you're saying all sorts of terrible things to yourself. Nobody knows it but you. Where does negative, critical self-talk come from? Usually from our upbringing, from your childhood, from your upbringing. Angela, I want you to touch on that tonight. Be brave, okay? Be brave. The Answer, which is a book written by John Assaraf and Murray Smith, talk about the negative messages children receive growing up. What do they say? By the time you're 17 years old, you've heard no, you cannot, an average of 150,000 times. You've heard yes, you can about 5,000 times. That's 30 no's for every yes. That makes for a powerful belief that I cannot do something. That's huge. And guys, that is just the very tip of that's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more underneath those 150 times you've heard you can't do something. I mean, it gets way worse than that. I know some of you have had some really horrible experiences in your past. So that's a lot to overcome. It's a huge hurdle, massive hurdle to overcome. It's one of the reasons that it took Jonetta McSwain 30 whole years, 30 years to start believing that she could change. If we want to change our lives, we have to change the way that we think about ourselves. And if we want to change the way that we think about ourselves, we got to change the way we talk to ourselves. You got to stop talking trash to yourself. You're just heaping more and more trash upon the heap that was laid on you by whoever it was in your past. It's got to stop. You need to learn to become your own encourager, your own cheerleader. Every time you do a good job, don't just let it pass. Give yourself a compliment. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, don't just tell yourself that you should have done it anyway. I should have done that anyway. Recognize how much that you're really helping yourself. Every time you make a mistake, do not bring up everything that's wrong with yourself. Just tell yourself that you're paying the price for growth and you're going to learn to do better the next time. Be good to yourself. Every positive thing that you can say to yourself will help you to overcome that negative self-image. Number 2, stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop it. Stop it. There's one of two things that happen when you compare yourself to others. What happens when you compare yourself to others? It's usually one of two things. Either you perceive the other person to be so far ahead of you and you feel discouraged, or you perceive yourself to be better than the other person and you become arrogant and proud. It's a needless distraction. Oh my gosh, what a waste of time. Needless distraction. The only one that you should compare yourself to is yourself. You. Compare yourself to you. That's it. You to you. And if you look back and compare yourself in the weeks, months, and years ago to the you that you are today, if you can go back and see how far you've come, you will be greatly encouraged by your progress. Some of you started working on some of this maybe last week, a week before that, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 6 months ago. If you can look back to see how far you've come, you should be very encouraged. Number 3, move beyond your limiting beliefs. People do not believe that they can accomplish great things. The greatest limitations people experience on their lives are usually the ones that they impose upon themselves. You're imposing these things on your own self. And industrialist Charles Schwab says, when a man has put a limit on what he will do, he has put a limit on what he can do. That was true for Jonetta McSwain. As soon as she changed her self-limiting thinking, she was able to change her life. Change the way you think about yourself, change your whole life. Change the way you talk to yourself, it's going to happen quicker. Jack Canfield, in the Success Principles, recommends 4 steps to transform limiting beliefs to empowering ones. Number 1, identify a limiting belief that you want to change. Number 2, determine how that belief limits you. Number 3, decide how you want to be, act, or feel. Number 4, create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to be, act, or feel this new way. Create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to be, act, or feel this new way. That's huge. Once you do that, repeat that turnaround phrase or statement to yourself every day for as long as you must in order to change your self-limiting thinking. You're going to have to take some action. You can't just want to change. You have to do the things necessary to make the changes. Number 4, start adding value to other people. Now, I think some of you have this one down. Some of you have this one down. It's easier, so much easier for Jesus to go and do something for someone else, but it is miserable and ridiculous thinking to yourself to do something great for yourself. It's so much easier for you to go and sacrifice and give to other people, but you refuse to go and give to yourself. Think about that. Think about that. But this is one of the ways that you can combat it. People with low self-esteem often see themselves as inadequate or feel like victims, which often starts because they actually have been victimized in their past, been very victimized. They focus inordinately on themselves, and they can become self-protective and selfish because they feel that they have to be that way to survive. If that's true for you, then you can combat those feelings by serving others and working to add value to them. So it's hard to feel bad about yourself and feel victimized when you're doing something good for somebody else. And in addition to that, adding value to others makes them value you more. So people start to value you when you add value to them. It's a cycle of positive feeling. Number 5, do the right thing even if it's a hard thing. Do the right thing even if it's the hard thing. One of the best ways to build self-esteem is to do the right thing. It gives you a strong sense of satisfaction. And what happens whenever you don't do the right thing? Either you feel guilt, which makes you feel bad about yourself, or you lie to yourself to try to convince yourself that your actions were not wrong or weren't that important. That does harm to you as a person and to your self-esteem. You either feel guilty, which makes you feel bad, or you lie to yourself to convince yourself that your actions were not wrong. Wow. That's really a self-limiting thing, right? Doing the right thing builds character, and then eventually you're going to have more confidence. When you have more character, you're going to have more confidence. Number 6, practice a small discipline daily in a specific area of your life. If there's an area in your life that seems overwhelming to you, like your health, your work, family, or something else, Try chipping away at it a little bit every single day instead of trying to tackle it all at once. So discipline is a morale builder. It builds morale. Boost your morale by taking small steps that will take you in a positive direction. Small steps, there's something to be said about that. There's always something to be said about baby steps and small steps. Absolutely, there's a time for that. And I will agree with John Maxwell with this. There's some of you, though, that need to take a big leap off of a cliff. Okay? It's time to stop taking little baby steps. It's time to just dive in and do what you need to do to make yourself a more valued person to yourself. And it's just so important that you recognize when it's right to take little baby steps, and then other times you're going to have to just dive in. I remember in Dr. Mark Hyman's book, The Blood Sugar Solution and the Blood Sugar Detox Diet, you know, he talks about this in dieting terms of, as in slowly cutting out desserts, slowly cutting out calories, slowly cutting out different things, and, you know, maybe walking 10 more minutes a day than you normally did. And then eventually the idea is that you continually do that over a long period of time and you're going to lose more weight. You're going to lose weight. Well, I'm sorry. All I have to do that is a couple of 2 or 3 days and I'm bored with that and I'm back to shoving my face and doing no working out. Okay? Because cutting out an 100 calories or 200 calories when I'm normally eating 3,500 a day, I'm not going to lose too much weight. And I'm not going to see any results. So in order to see results, bam, you're going to have to jump off a cliff. I'm telling you. And in the blood sugar solution, you got to cut out all the fat, all the sugar, all the caffeine, all the dairy, all the artificial sweeteners. You got to drink your weight in water, pretty much, ounces of water. Okay? So that's like jumping off a cliff. You're not going to see any big improvements in your health unless you stop doing all the bad stuff immediately and cut it all out. So there's something to be said. I will agree with John Maxwell. You got to take baby steps every now and then. But there are some times where you're just going to have to go big or go home. Because if you don't do some of those big moves, you won't ever move. Okay? Number 7, celebrate the small victories. When you do the right thing or you take a small step in the right direction, you need to celebrate that. What is your emotional response? Some of you are so negative to yourself that you can't even acknowledge that you've done something amazing. What kinds of things do you tell yourself? What are your thoughts like? Are they like this? Well, it's about time I did it. That's negative. I don't want to do as much as I didn't want to do as much as I did. In other words, like you're putting yourself down because you just didn't want to do as much as you actually did. Well, that won't make any difference. It's hopeless. I'll never succeed. Well, I mean, where are you going to get talking to yourself like that? What are your thoughts like this, which are more positive? Well, it's good that I finally did that. I finally did the right thing. Good for me. Every little bit helps. I'm so much closer to success now. Just one more step. See, I mean, you need to celebrate the small steps. Taking a break to celebrate is really good for you. And if nothing is ever good enough, you can lose your heart. You can lose heart doing it. If nothing is ever good enough for yourself and you can't celebrate something small, then you're going to lose heart. You've got to celebrate. You got to celebrate because it's going to encourage you and it helps to inspire you to keep going. Don't underestimate its power. Number 8, embrace a positive vision for your life based on what you value. I'm going to say it again. Embrace a positive vision for your life based on what you value. If you have a positive vision for your life and you take action to fulfill that vision, then you will more readily recognize that your life matters. Have a positive vision, take action to fulfill it, and you're going to start to readily recognize that your life matters. For example, Janetta McSwain loved and valued her children, so that gave her a big reason to do what she started needing to do, right? So what do you value? What prompts you to see a positive vision for your life? If you don't have a vision, you're likely to be so apathetic, you're never even going to get started. Okay, you're never even going to begin. However, if you tap into what you value, what is it that you value? Start doing an inventory. What is it that you value? Tap into it and try to see what could be, and it can inspire you to take positive action. It will help you to believe in yourself. Number 9, practice the one-word strategy. What is the one word that describes you? What is one word that describes you? You need to come up with that word. What is one word that describes you? I did for myself. For me, the one word that I can think of that describes me is passion. Sometimes too much, sometimes over the top, but it's always passion. I'm always passionate about everything. Kevin Hall called Aspire. It's a book called Aspire. And he writes this: the first thing I do when I'm coaching somebody who aspires to stretch, grow, and go higher in life is to have that person select the one word that best describes him or her. Once that person does that, it's as if he or she has turned a page in a book and highlighted a one word. Instead of seeing 300 different words on a page, the person's attention and intention is focused immediately on a single word, that single gift. What is that what that individual focuses on begins to expand now. So you got to define for yourself, what is the one word that defines you, that describes you? Come up with it. I really challenge you to think about that. It tells you a lot about how you think about yourself. That one word will tell you everything about how you think about yourself and how you value or devalue yourself. Try it. If you could pick only one word to describe yourself, what would it be? I hope it's positive. In fact, I want to hear those words when we start talking after this is over and we start doing the application. Last thing is to take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your life. We tend to get in life what we are willing to tolerate. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. We tend to get in life what you're willing to tolerate. What is it that you tolerate all the time? You're willing to tolerate so many different things all the time. Well, guess what? You're going to keep getting it. It's going to keep happening to you until you are unwilling to tolerate that anymore. And when you're unwilling to tolerate whatever it is that you're tolerating, then that thing will stop happening to you. I want you to hear me when I say that. Part of it is that we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us. And if we cannot set up some boundaries in our lives, you're just going to have people treating you that same way over and over and over and over. And you just keep tolerating it and tolerating it and tolerating it, shoving it under the rug, shoving it under the rug. Well, I'm on my way. Well, baby steps. Well, no. When are you going to stop tolerating it? You're going to keep getting it as long as you're tolerating it. If we allow others to disrespect us, you will get disrespected over and over and over and over again. If you tolerate abuse, you're going to get abused. If we think that it's okay to be overworked and underpaid, well, guess what? You're going to continue to be overworked and underpaid. If you don't have a plan and a purpose for your life, we will become part of somebody else's purpose. You got to have your own plan and purpose for your own life. Otherwise, you're going to be working for somebody else's plan and purpose. You're going to be building their dream. How about build your dream? Build your dream. So take responsibility like Jonetta McSwain did. She took responsibility for herself and where she was. She decided to get control of her own life and make some positive changes. It was not easy, and it did not happen quickly. She had to dig herself out of a massive, huge hole. But she did it. And so can you. So I want to go over some of these things that we're going to talk about. And when I finish going over the homework here, I'm going to stop recording, and then we're going to apply these things here. Number 1, applying the law of the mirror to your life. Make a list of all your best personal qualities. And I'm telling you, I'm going to read this because some of you have not done this, and you better do it if you value personal growth. This chapter, you better write some of these things down and do these activities here. If you have positive self-esteem, then this will be very easy for you to do. If you do not, then it will be a big, big struggle. Do not give up. If needed, spend days or weeks creating this list. Do not stop until you have written 100 positive things about yourself. And for some of you, that is going to be the most daunting practice you have ever done in your entire life. Huge. If it took you a long time to create the list, then you need to spend time every day reading through it. Once you create that list, spend time every day reading through it to remind yourself of your value. Remember that if you do not value yourself, you will have a very difficult time adding value to yourself. If you don't value yourself, you will not be able to add value to yourself. You better start now and do some of these things that are being laid out in this chapter. Use this list as a springboard mechanism. Decide on the one word that we talked about that best describes you, and make this word your North Star. Make that word your North Star as you begin adding value to yourself. That's a huge thing to do, number 1, that I just read. Number 2, few things impact a person's self-esteem more than the way that they talk to themselves on a day-to-day basis. Are you aware of how you talk to yourself? Keep track by using, you're going to have to do this. This is a daily thing. Keep track by using your smartphone or carrying around an index card so that you can tally the number of times each day this week that you think something positive or negative about yourself. In addition, you can ask close friends or family members to tell you whether they think you see yourself in a favorable light or an unfavorable light. Ask some people. Ask some people what they think that you see yourself as. Ask some people. Ask your husband, ask your spouse, ask your brother, your best friend. Say to your spouse or your friend, do I see myself in a favorable light? Do I see myself in an unfavorable light? Do you think I value myself, or do you think that I put very little value on myself? Be ready to hear the answer. Ask people to tell you the truth, and then be ready to hear it, whether it hurts or not. Because you know what? You got to start by knowing the truth, and then you can start there and add value to yourself. Self-awareness is a big deal. You got to be self-aware. Number 3, if you want to feel valuable, add value to others. So if you want to feel valuable, you can add value to others. And I think this is so where a lot of you are. You're like so busy doing things for other people that you just do not ever do anything for yourself. You don't add value to yourself. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong here in a minute. How much time every day and every week do you spend focusing on others and adding value to them? Do you serve others through a volunteer organization? Do you mentor people? Do you give assistance to others less fortunate than yourself? If you're not doing this already, find a way to serve and add value to others on a weekly basis. Do something that utilizes your strengths, benefits others, and makes you feel good about yourself. Start small, and if you're already serving people, then do some more. It's a good rule of thumb to give 1/10 of your time to serving and adding value to others. So for example, if you work 40 hours a week, devote 4 hours to serving others. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that a lot of you, and I mean, seriously, tell me, Suzanne, you're wrong. I think a lot of you are already doing number 3. And I think it's a distraction to you. I think that the more you do number 3, the less you look at number 1 and 2. So, just my personal opinion. You can, like I said, you can tell me, Suzanne, you're wrong. I'm going to very quickly unmute, and then I'm going to stop recording after we say goodbye to all of our viewing audience here in a second. I'm going to go to gallery. Here I am. Let's say hello and goodbye. We're so glad you joined us. I'm going to turn off the recording because we're going to have a personal discussion with our team. We're so glad y'all joined us. Hey, hang on for 1 second. I'm going to take a picture of all y'all's lovely faces. Y'all are amazing. I just celebrate being on this Zoom. Let's see your faces. Smile big. Yay.
Can you see mine?
Yes, we can. Awesome. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We love y'all. Thank you for joining us.